We're just gonna have a good Q&A session here with Sara and just really dive into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to the title of the seminar, the webinar was book more appointments, because that's what Sara does all day. That's her goal, is to get people into connection with agents that are running ads and have leads coming in. So we're going to learn from her about what that kind of takes, how to go about doing that yourself, and then just some questions about when is it time to maybe bridge the gap. Maybe you don't have an ISA now, you've thought about having an ISA, but you're not ready to go there. What's that point that maybe utilizing an ISA, and what does an ISA actually do? Because I had some conversations with Sara where I said I think people are confused about an ISA and a VA, and they sometimes hire a VA to do an ISA's job, and then it doesn't go as well as we want it to go. So we'll talk about that as we get going here. But feel free as we go, there'll be a time to answer questions too. So feel free to pop into the chat there and ask some questions along the way. And we will open it up for some Q&A too as we get going here. But we're happy you're joining us on this later Thursday afternoon for those of you on the other coast, and later in the day than we're usually used to. But let me pull up Sara. For those of you, we always assume that everyone knows who everyone is around here because we become quite a close family, but sometimes people show up to webinars that might not know, or they might have they see you, but they don't know what it is that you do. So give an introduction as to what it is you do and what company you're with and all of that kind of stuff.
For sure. Okay, my name is Sara Delansig, and I own a boutique ISA company. It's called the Inside Sales Agency, and ISA is right there in the name. An ISA is an inside sales agent, and we basically we help agents convert their leads, their prospective buyers and sellers, to appointments, not to closings. That's the agent's job, but we help them get the appointments to the point where we're mining their database, trying to figure out, okay, who's actually serious, who's responding to us, who's opening the emails, or who's watching the videos, or who's actually like interacting, asking questions, wants to know where to go from here. And then we pair them with the agent that we make calls for. And sorry, it is very sunny. So if you're watching this, I might get totally washed out because I am literally like Casper. I don't tan very well, even with self tan. But
On the vid.
go ahead.
I said you might get a tan while we're here if the sun's coming in the window.
You would think that, but
Yeah.
probably not. Probably not. But anyway, yeah. So I've run this business for a while. I got my license. The reason I started this business was to stay in real estate. I'll be honest. So, like years ago, I got tricked into working for a real estate coaching company. And I say tricked because their ad said it was 60,000 base plus commission. And I was more of a corporate, not necessarily corporate America. I always worked for small businesses, but I was like upper echelon, like have my degree in psychology and things like that. So I never would have applied for this job if I knew it was minimum wage. And I already worked there for a couple of days when I found out it was minimum wage. But by then I was already like, okay, I'm bought into the culture and I'm bought into whatever. So I ended up working there, but I was like terrified, intimidated, and that is not my personality at all. I never was hired to make calls for a living. I've been a salesperson. I've sold glass. I've worked for all different kinds of companies in all different ways, but I've never like made calls until then. And making calls is intimidating to a lot of people, even if you are outgoing. Like, even doing this kind of thing. Like, I'm a very outgoing person, but I volunteered to speak in front of a lot of people one time, and I couldn't even get my words out. And so then I was like terrified of public speaking. And when Zoom came out, I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to do this. And then the first Street Text Mastermind, I remember Marcus asked me a question, and it was the same kind of fear. So I had to practice. And so just like with that, where now I can stand in front of you all and like pour my heart out and tell you everything about myself. Before I would stutter and my mouth would get so dry and my heart would race and my like I couldn't get my thoughts together. And sometimes that's the way it feels when you're going to make a call. That can be the same feeling. And it was when I started real estate coaching. And I remember one of the guys that I worked with there, he said, the feeling that you have is so similar to the feel you call it fear, but it can, if you just name it as excitement, it's the same exact feeling. What happens when you get excited? Your heart starts racing, your mouth gets dry. Like it's the same thing. So they were like, instead of thinking that you're so scared to have these conversations, which by the way, I don't know why I was terrified because I was good. Like I accomplished, I became like the fastest appointment setter and all of that. I don't know why I was terrified, but I heard them and they sounded professional. They sounded, hello, I'm blah, blah, blah. And I was like intimidated by that because I'm like, hi, I'm Sarah. And how are you doing today? And I would just talk the way I normally talk. I didn't put on any kind of front. I didn't act any differently. And they first were like, you know what? You're only getting so many appointments because they feel sorry for you. So maybe that's another reason why I was scared. But at the same time, I was having a lot of success because I was being very authentic and people could hear that. And maybe they did feel sorry for me in the beginning. But you know what? Probably still hold the record for the most booked appointments with a coach for like my first week. My best friend, who's now passed from COVID, she almost beat me, but I won't let her take that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what I want to lead into too, because one, a lot of people might jump to an ISA thinking it's going to solve all their problems. Because I know we talked about this, was we were like, okay, how many people sign with an ISA and think that they're going to make everything happen faster? And yeah, they might because they make calls, but you still have this like long-term mentality people have to commit to when they hire an ISA. So there's two different options. I'm going to hire someone and outsource this and leverage, and I have the budget to hire someone to make all the calls for me,
Hmm.
or I'm going to learn from somebody who's doing it until I get to that point in my
Yes.
business. Like, when is somebody ready for an ISA? And what does an ISA specifically do that's different than like a VA? Because we talked about the difference between an ISA and a VA that people confuse a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start with the VA and the ISA thing because this is really important. And there are companies out there that will approach agents, and I've been approached many times, and they'll be like, hey, you know what? You can hire a VA to clean up your whole database and write your campaigns, and they'll make calls for you, right? For $4 an hour or whatever the case may be. Those are very different things. And if you are in real estate for any amount of time, hopefully you understand different personality types, like the disc profile or something like that, right? I actually gave my whole team the disc profile at one point, and the people who were in the admin side were higher C and higher S and lower D and lower I. Okay, it's flip flop. So they're better at systematic tasks. Yes. So Jonathan, that's a great question. My disc profile is a 99I. Now, some of you are like, oh, I bet she's a really high D. I am. I'm about an 82 D, a 99I, and then it goes, I don't know if it's an S or a C but those are pretty low. They're like under 40 probably. And I do like systems. Look, I'm married to a very high C, and I've been with him for 26 years. Shout out to my husband, Joff, who, if you're ever together that long, you're bound to rub off on each other and make each other better, especially because we're very much opposite. But yeah, so a VA is somebody that is going to do administrative tasks. Okay. It comes down to this administrative, tedious tasks, the things like drafting an email, creating SOPs, things like that. And an ISA is somebody that is building relationships through calls, mostly phone calls. Now, if you hire a VA to be your ISA, what you are going to see almost 99 times out of 10 is that they're going to be sending text messages instead of making phone calls. And even then, do they have the motivation behind it to, let's say I hired one guy and he didn't have any motivation to do the job. And somebody replied back that after I let him go, somebody replied back, hey, I'm ready to sell my house. Can you help me? He saw it and he said, oh, he saw it and he sent a text message like, oh, we'll be in touch or something like that. He never told the agent what was going on or anything like that. So like he had no desire to move forward. So I always look for somebody that has a high influence, high I, high D, so that they are going to be able to have conversations and not feel like hurt when they hear something negative, because this is not easy what we do. But there is also an element where some people, if you're, I don't think it's a great thing, but if you're like seeking attention and you like that excitement of setting appointments and doing something hard, it can help. But that's an ISA. Whereas a VA is, okay, I want to check these boxes. An ISA is going to be like, okay, I want to make money. I want to have good conversations. I want to build relationships. I want to do something hard and prove that I can do it. So I guess that's the difference between that. The
Yeah.
other
And I
question
think
was what?
it's huge to throw that out there. Okay. So then you define yourself as an ISA, which means you like making phone calls.
Mhm.
You are rewarded and motivated to make phone calls. You make a lot of phone calls.
Yes.
So I think if I had this conversation with a lot of agents, do you like making phone calls? A lot of them would say, are you motivated to make phone calls? You might have the motivation, but is it enough to make you make the calls?
Hmm.
So, like at the beginning of this, you said that you were terrified to make phone calls,
Hmm.
but something obviously changed. So it's like, what was that changing point for you? What did you have to learn? And in your course, you said this quote that I wrote down. It's not super hard. I do not overthink it. It's just a conversation. So how
Right.
did you like change your mindset from this is hard and nerve-wracking and I really don't like it to that motivation? It's not super hard. It's just a conversation and just let things roll off your shoulder to be able to make the hundreds of calls a day that you do.
Okay, that's an interesting question because it comes back to my who I am as a person, which this is has since become a part of what I ask in interviews, which is if what do you think your purpose is in life? Okay, so I ask this question in interviews because it says a lot. Somebody says I just want to make a lot of money and get rich and just lay on a beach somewhere. Probably not somebody that's I do want somebody motivated by money, but I don't want them that motivated by money, right? Because if they get a bigger offer and a better deal, then they're going to go there and that's going to be the thing. My motivation in life was to be exactly where God wanted me to be when he wanted me to be there. Like I always just wanted to be on the path that I was supposed to be on, wherever I was supposed to be. And even though I didn't like it, God brought me to that place where I was tricked into working. And honestly, what changed, I tried to get out of it. I tried to get out of it. I tried to switch into the admin portion of it. But God brought me back and said, "No, Sarah, this is where you're meant to be. And look how good you are at it." They are not, they're faking it, Sarah. They're faking it. And they're intimidated by you. You don't need to be intimidated by them, right? And then I realized that there's a huge need for this because the further I got, the more I realized, oh my goodness, what are we being taught? What are you taught about sales? Is that a nice word? I can't even send an email to someone without it going to spam unless they know it's coming from me because the word sales is in the name of my business. Nobody likes the word sales. Like, it's icky. What do you think of? Wolf of Wall Street, like a bunch of dudes, a big try to manipulate the person and oh, does your wife carry your whatever in her purse or what? Come on. And I'm just trying to help people see, is this going to benefit you? Do you really need to buy or sell a home? If you don't, then don't. Let's not try to trick you into it somehow, right? I guess it comes back to my motivation, what I wanted, and what I follow, which is why now I ask it. I hire people. What do you really want in life? What are you following? What's your purpose? Because when people have purpose, they're happier and they know where they're going. And if I would have gotten out of it, now when I asked to go to the admin side of it, I was fortunate that they had an event and they had to put me on a 2 week. They were like, "We'll talk to you when we get back from this event." And by then I had already risen to the top as the salesperson. And by then I was like, you know what? No, admin's going to make me this amount of money. This is actually, maybe I can actually come out of this making the money that I thought I might make. So I was okay with
Yeah.
it.
I love that answer. It's so what I'm hearing is that you became really comfortable with just the goal being conversation. The
Mhm.
goal wasn't a sale.
Not
The
at
goal
all.
was I'm only going to be able to make sales if I'm willing to have a conversation. And
Yeah,
I'm not going to manipulate anybody into a conversation. I'm just going
exactly.
to make someone feel comfortable enough. And the only way you were able to do that was by making the phone calls when you were nervous and perhaps didn't like it. And as you said, your hand got forced to it to do it long enough to come to that realization. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people make a judgment call about whether they're good or bad at calls based on the fact that one, you don't do enough of it. So of course you're not good at it. Were you stellar right out of the gate, Sarah? Or was it something that I've heard you change your tune as you go, like you change weekly based on what you're learning, right?
Oh, yeah. You have to adjust as if things stop working. why are we sticking with it? Like I remember talking about this not too long ago. There's a lot of contradicting data out there, especially in the real estate industry, because like as real estate agents, we get a lot of money at one time, and then there's a lot that wants to, shiny object syndrome. And now, oh, now that you got that big, huge listing, now you need to have your SEO, and now you have to have your campaign set up. So now you need to pay for this and this. So when people come to me, I ask them, do you actually need an ISA? Is that really where your heart is? I don't want to just get the sale. It's never about getting the sale. We need to analyze and look at, are we helping this person, or are we just trying to make a sale? Is it about us, or is it about them? It's not about me. Like, do I care if these people buy a home? Yes, because I care about the agent, and yes, because I want them to buy a home if that's what they want. And same with real estate coaching. When I sold real estate coaching, it was like, is this a good idea for you? Is this going to change your life? Did I see it change other people's lives? Yes. So, but some people it's not a good fit for. So, at the end of the day, like, and it didn't take me very long because I always feel like we all have intuition. If you're in something you love or not. Did I love it when I first started? No. I was scared. I wasn't good. But you have to make 100 calls a day, right? And we're talking, okay, so just so you know, the answering machine on a normal phone call picks up at 32 seconds. Okay. So you're waiting almost 32 seconds and only 10% of people pick up. So most of the time you're waiting, and then you have to leave a voicemail. So after a while, you leave a lot of voicemails because you can make about a one call per minute, right? So if you can make one call per minute and nobody picks up the phone, you're looking at 60 calls an hour, right? So that's in the real estate coaching space. Let's just put that over there. But even in this space, right? Like, you're going to have conversations, you're going to have to, you know, understand what people are trying to say to you and what you're saying, but you practice over time. And so then eventually you get where you want to go. So you're only going to be as bad as you ever are at something the very first time you try it.
Yeah.
You have to build on that.
And it was important to you, Sarah, when I talked to you and when you put together like a course for us in the past, you felt like I needed to spend some time on mindset because that was what like people want the scripts and you have the scripts and you've perfected them down to what gets the best response. But you can perfect the scripts all you want. If you're not motivated to do the calls, you're going to talk yourself out of it every single time and you're going to talk yourself out of the future business. So I think it was
Absolutely.
important that we covered and to you, it was important that mindset was something that was covered and just uncovering your motivation to get out of your head and get into doing your calls. So I think
Yep.
that's huge. So just one more question on mindset, and then we'll jump into some of the practicalities. But do you ever just jump into your day? Do you like when you start your calls in the day, like how do you prepare yourself for a day?
Okay, I'll be honest because my team is here and they know me. Yes, sometimes I walk in and I'm running late and I will do that. But on my drive to the office, I'm visualizing success, right? I'm already thinking, I have a certain client that I really want a closing for. All of them, but right now one comes to mind, and we're in a situation and he has so much faith in me and everything, but I just want it so bad for this guy. So I'm visualizing him calling me and we're like, yay, we finally did it, all right, let's go. So that's how I'm visualizing my day. It's going to be a great day. It's going to, people are going to pick up the phone, they're going to want to talk to us. I'm finally going to get through to some of the people and it's going to get under contract, whatever. So as I'm driving to work, that's what I'm thinking about. I turn the radio off. I try to visualize that and get to work. And then I come in and I have affirmations. And I want to do these affirmations because they really do prepare you, because then you're like, I'm not just trying to make a sale. That's one of my affirmations is I know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not trying to just make a sale. I'm trying to have a conversation. So I do affirmations, and then like I also like to start out my day with like meditation. I say prayers in my head all the time. And I don't know if other people do this, but all day long I'll be like, God, please let this happen. Let this happen. Like in my head, I'll be like, if whatever's meant to happen, let it happen. Right. So all the time, like that just boils down to who I am as a person, where I come from, what I care about. Right. And so I feel like that can be used with the simplest, stupid stuff, like finding your keys. God, please help me find my keys. I don't know where I left them. Right. That kind of stuff. But it works for your business. Lately, I've been listening to these YouTube channel things that are like attract wealth, attract success. It's a subliminal message thing like beta and theta binaural beats or something like that. I don't know much about it, but I know that it's really calm and I can listen to it while asleep and maybe it does attract more wealth and success. So I listen to that kind of stuff too. So meditation, visualization, affirmations. There's a lot of mations in this, right? So that kind of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So when it gets down to calling, we talked about this the other day, and we just go through you get a lead, like how many times are you calling a lead? What's your motivation between trying to get a hold of them and connect with them? What is it that you're actually doing with those leads? And we talked about how important it was to take notes and to be
Mhm.
consistent and follow up when you say you're going to follow up.
Yeah. Okay. So on that, 80 something percent of agents do not make a second call. My guess is like even those 80% don't even make the first call, right? They're going to let their automate, like we've gotten accustomed to letting AI and things like that do it for us. And so if you are going to, if you're going to get into real estate, understand that calling people is a part of the job at some point, right? Writing a contract is much harder than calling someone. Most people don't pick up the phone, but in that period of time where we're trying to get them to know who you are, know what you're about, see if you guys connect, right? There are ways that you can do that. So I try to call every lead source is different, but we're street text here, so we're going to talk street text stuff. So I try to call the leads that come in through street text like as soon as possible, within 24 hours at least, right? As soon as possible. And then 2 days later. So when I say I call them, I also always send a text message, always. So if I leave a voicemail, there's a text message going out, unless they have a landline, which I figure out because I send them a text message. Okay. And it says it's undelivered. Okay. Then I call them 2 days later. Then I call them 1 week later. Then I call them 2 weeks later. Then I call them 3 weeks later. Then I call them once a month until they pick up the phone. So they can ignore me for a very long time. And that's fine because you want to know why? Because I send them stuff like this. I'll show you right now. This is, starting screen share will stop other participants' computer sound share. Sorry, Ira, you can't play any more songs. So is this the screen you're seeing? Hopefully.
We're seeing your dialer right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is a dialer, by the way. This is a dialer. You don't necessarily need it, but some people do. So this is a text, a part of the text. So this is the person, and if I hit this SMS thing, then this pops up, and this is one of the text templates that will be in the course if it isn't already. So this is what I'm going to show you. Hey Elaine, spring is in the air. Did you know it's the best time to buy and sell a home? A while back, I believe you inquired online about selling your Ohio home. So I just put the whole state because this particular agent works the whole state, but sometimes I will change this to the city and maybe your Ohio or your Toledo home on 123 app. So you can specify and make it a little bit more like that so they know that where they live or like that they gave you their information or something like that. So then I say, are you still thinking about relocating? And this is a little thinking emoji. And then I say, this is Sarah with Tyler Tree Says Real Estate Team. But I don't stop there. AI would probably stop there. Then what I do is I have the title of a video that Tyler made, that I made him make, just so you know. And it says, why should you list your home with Tyler? And then there's a YouTube link. And this link is evergreen, meaning it is something that can be watched 24/7, 365. It's not a walkthrough of a home that is now sold that nobody can watch in a few months because it's gone, right? It's something that buyers and sellers might want to know about Tyler, or I guess in this case, sellers, that they can watch at any point in time. Now, should they be updated every few years? Probably, yeah. But the basics of buying a home are probably still you need to get pre approved and you need to talk to an agent and you need to figure out where you want to live and things like that. So you can make evergreen videos on that stuff. And if you don't know what evergreen means, it just means that it's timeless content. I put it on YouTube because if you have an iPhone, this will pop up with a pretty little preview with a thumbnail, which I also made and make. So there's an element of coaching in this, but it is what works because it's even if you didn't have these videos, just so you know, if you were following up the way I tell you, you're probably going to get through to people. But if you want people to know who you are a lot sooner, then this is what we're doing. And we change it based on the time. So I also have one. Let me just see. Oh, it's right above it. That we did for New Year's, right? Elaine, Happy New Year from Tyler Treeside's real estate team in Toledo. Requested an estimate for your home. In this case, I said 2 weeks ago. When's a good time to reach you so we can discuss the home and get you the best estimate? So this one I don't actually have a video on because, like I said, I had to make videos, but we got the videos now. So this is a little older. But that hopefully that explains that.
Yeah, what's huge about this is the consistency. Like you're saying that 80% of agents do not do more than one phone call. You, I am assuming, most likely don't get a hold of people in that first phone call. But
Mm-hmm.
because you're consistent and you're saying your name's Sarah, so what does an iPhone do? It starts tagging you and saying maybe
Maybe.
Sarah
Yep.
every time you call now. And you've also been sending stuff, like you said, within 24 hours, a text message that now puts a YouTube link in it with that agent's face on it and now tags your name in their phone. And then you're doing it within 2 days, you're calling again. Now it's going to say maybe Sarah calling. And then a week later, maybe Sarah calling. 2 weeks later, maybe Sarah calling.
Yep.
And then you said a month, and then every month after that. So eventually,
Yes.
this person's like, how professional does that look in terms of this person's consistent? This person says that they're following up consistently. And how many people do you think relent and pick up the phone because of that consistency eventually?
Oh, absolutely. They do. And I've even had them call me back and they say, I'm sorry I've ignored you for this long, but now I'm ready. I thank you for some people. You'd be surprised, get mad that you don't call them. They do. They are grateful that you do call them. So don't worry about the people that are mad because you called them. There's an easy way to handle that. Has nothing to do with you. All right, I'm sorry about that. Have a great day. You are going to get hung up on. You're going to get people mad. You're going to get people lately. It's, oh my gosh, that person has been using my phone number and they're going on all these websites and they're using my number and they've been doing it for years. And I'm just sick of these calls. Oh, I totally get it. Like I would be frustrated with that too. Just so you know, you're doing the right thing. Just pick up the phone, tell them it's the wrong number. And if they're sending you text messages, reply stop. And if it's a dialer or something like that, they have to stop. Then they're like, "Oh, thanks. That was so nice of you." And then I'm like, "Do you need to buy or sell a house?" And it doesn't normally go that way, but but at least they're not mad. And even if they are mad, let's say they're the nastiest people in the world and they say the meanest thing they can think of, which can happen, has happened. Nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with me. I don't have any. You can say whatever you want. Yeah, you might get me going a little bit and I might want to say something back, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be like, "Oh, God bless you and have a wonderful day." I'm so sorry that is what's going on in your life that you need to yell at somebody that you don't know. Or I find there's no reason to argue. There's no reason to manipulate anyone. There's no reason for any of that. We just need to like be humans. Don't try to be a professional. Don't try to be super fancy. Don't try to be something you're not. That is a whole reason why I had success was I was not trying to sound like the guys around me that sounded so professional. I was just being me and I was like, this is either going to sink or swim. And you know what? It was exactly what I think the industry needs. And that's why I got over my fear of speaking in public because I'm so passionate about this. I'm tired of being told if you just smile and dial, learn the script. No. And just to be clear, yes, you can start with a script. It may make you more comfortable. I did that. I did have a script that I started with, and then I had a conversation from there. So the first few lines, and even to this day, that is my whole thing. The first lines are a script. It's, hey, this is Sarah. I work with Tyler Treeside's real estate team in Toledo. I saw that you clicked on this Facebook post the other day where you wanted a list of one level homes. Just want to make sure you got it okay in your email because sometimes it goes to spam. And that's what I say when they pick up the phone or if I'm leaving a voicemail. The voicemail is just a little longer. So please, if you have any questions or want to go check any of these homes out, let me know. Give me a call back. That's the end of that. But the text message is literally the same. Hi, this is Sarah with Tyler Tree Sizes Real Estate Team in Toledo. I saw you clicked on a Facebook post requesting a list of homes in this area. Just want to make sure you got that okay. Sometimes it goes to spam. And then there's a little YouTube link of like meet Tyler Tree Size and get to know him. And so that's the script. And then once they start talking, you have a human conversation.
And we talked about this in terms of the nitty gritty of being organized. So after you make that, let's say you're going through your calls throughout the day, every time you finish a call, how are you making sure that you are set up to know when to call that person back again? What are you doing to organize yourself to make sure that you know what you do when you sit down at your desk every day?
Okay, so I am so glad you asked that because I forget that people don't think the same way sometimes. And when I made the course, I was really trying to get it to the bare minimum basics, but I didn't, obviously, because people don't know what a dialer is and people don't understand all of the nuances of it. Sorry, lost my train of thought. What was it that we were just talking
So the
about?
question was just like being organized. So what are you doing to
Oh,
make
how
sure
do you do
you're,
the next one? Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
I was like, I was gonna try to talk until I figured it out, and then I'm like, just admit that you just totally forgot what you were saying. It's fine. So, anyways, what you do to be organized, you have to do this. And I didn't realize people were not doing this until I had an agent and was not taking. He didn't even use a CRM, like none of that. So it was all brand new to him. But he's been in business forever. And so sometimes you just assume, oh, you've been a realtor for 20 years. Of course you know what a CRM is. Of course you use these things, but no, because you know why? Because sometimes they just do deals like, hey, I met you in the grocery store and okay, let's exchange our numbers right here and that kind of thing. So a CRM is massively important and you have to set up a next thing. So after I call them once, I don't click out of the task and say, okay, done, next. Okay, we'll see if the AI gets them back in the algorithm. No. And even if it did, are you really going to see the notification from the AI that says, yeah, they're looking at homes? Because you're probably going to go, oh, that's cool. And then you're going to be like doing something else and just forget about it. So you have to be consistently setting a time aside time to do these things, to prospect. Okay. And in this market, people are not surviving. Those agents that have been doing it the same way for 20 years, they're coming to me and they're going, Sarah, what do I do? Which is funny because I haven't been in the business that long but I see what's working because I do it every day. Even though I'm not out there selling houses right now, I tried and I didn't like it, but I know what works because I see what's converting because I see the top agents. I just got one guy in Georgia and he's one of the number one teams in Georgia and the systems that you have, the amount of knowledge that is in this guy's head, the amount that if he's ever asked a question twice, all of a sudden it's a system. It's like putting in there, this is how it goes, this is what you need to do. Although a lot of it is in his head too. So we need to get some of it out of that. But, anyways, but that's what I'm saying. You have to have these next steps. You cannot just sit there and go, okay, you know what? Julie will tell me if they text back. Are they going to text back though if you called them once and then you just forgot about them? Are they? You might get a unicorn. It happens. But if you did this consistent, you're paying money for street text, people. You are paying money for these leads. You are paying money for all of this wisdom and use it to the best of your ability. Be honest with yourself if you are doing the things that you need to do to be successful. If you think you can keep doing what you're doing and it hasn't been working, then I'm sorry, but you're going to fizzle out and you're going to end up running out of money. So you got to find some way. Set up the next task always.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the term I've heard used is this is an income producing activity. Sometimes we can get stuck in the weeds and we can be like, I'm going to make myself feel productive today
Mm-hmm.
by doing my systems and doing the AI and messing with my website and messing with my ads and trying to get my lead price perfectly. But if I really want my business to grow, you will not regret doing what Sarah's done, spending an inordinate amount of time with a schedule from this
Mm-hmm.
time to this time, and all I do is call. And
Mm-hmm.
all I do is record my calls so that my next person, and I'm not interrupted by like other tasks while I'm doing
Yeah,
that
don't check
because
email.
follow up
Yeah.
is everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will bring up this too. Alex Hormozy is one of my favorites right now. Normally I don't like some of the salesy stuff that's out there. It all seems the same, but I'm like devouring Alex Hormozy's content on YouTube right now by way of Ed Milet, who's also awesome. But anyways, he talked about you really need to look at the ROI on your systems because some people will put a bunch of money to save time on a task that doesn't actually cost them that money. Okay, so he was going to pay, I think it was $15,000 a day to automate a task that his accountants were doing for 4 hours a week. And he pays them this amount and he pays that amount. And so he wouldn't see a return on his investment for 8 years. The time the 8 years comes around, you know what? The system's obsolete. all of a sudden that method is no longer valid or a way of doing it. You can't get caught up on busy work trying to set something. I can't do it until I do this. I can't make a call until I have the videos. Sarah said I need videos. Sarah said I need videos, right? I can't do it until I do this. And then I can't do that until I get a video editor. And I can't do that until I have a script. And I can't do that. You are going to completely burn yourself out. So you can't do all that. You've got to just say, okay, I'm committing. I'm going to pick up the phone. I already paid for the leads. I already have the phone numbers. Sarah already told me what to say and what to text the first time. Let's just have a conversation, see what happens. Okay, now I know. I called them once. I left a voicemail. I sent them a text. Now I'm going to set up a task for 2 days from now. And in 2 days from now, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call them again. I'm going to leave them a voicemail. I'm going to send them a text, and I'm going to set up another task for a week from now. And then I'm going to do it again, or whatever is your system that works for you, because it may not work like that. And I don't do it perfectly, but I do it. I do get it done.
Yeah. I think that's the huge value in Sarah. We did ask her to put together a course, and we're going to be offering you that course today for a special pricing and everything like that. But here's the value of that. This is the value I see in that is don't spend your energy coming up with that system. Sarah's spent a lot of time seeing what works and messing with it and the text messages, and she's spelled it out for every ad. Where you should be spending your energy if you have the resources to just grab that skeletal system that she already has in place, then putting your energy into just doing what that says and getting really good at it, I think ROI will be off the charts at the end of the day. Because this is something we frequently hear at Street Text is people that have quick success with Street Text, they're making phone calls. They are. If people are having quick success, they're making phone calls. People that are having like the 6 month and the like, I'm going to just circulate around this person forever and be patient enough. And my business is in a point where enough where I can just circle around them in every direction. So they eventually pick up the phone and call me. There's lots of value in that part of your business, creating this like attraction that people are going to be calling you. But if you want your business to grow beyond just attraction, you have to go out and pull it into your like sphere. And the only way you're going to do that is setting aside time to make phone calls, to make business happen, to maybe shorten that timeline or get more value out of that timeline in the longer run because you make a really good first impression because you were relentless to get a hold of them in the first place.
Mhm.
So that's the value in Sarah's course is she spelled out what she does and the timeline of what she does it. So you just have to get your head in the place to do it. Like here's the text message. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to phone like 2 days later, 3 days later, and I'm going to follow the schedule. But I want to open it up for questions. Does anybody on here have any questions that we can run through? Feel free to type them in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, Sarah, I was going to have you pull up. We were going to talk specifically like what you do with the downsize and what that kind of looks like.
Okie dokie.
But if anybody has any questions, feel free to type it in the chat or to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay, let me find the link to that course that I just had. Oh, here it is. The downsize ad. So with every ad, okay, you can just plug and play, just so you guys know. You can plug and play the other things. Like every time we get a new client that has a new ad, they run custom ads and things like that. Those ones, we just change it a little bit. You just tweak it. Okay. Let's say you have the downsize ad. Did you get that list of turnkey 1 level homes that you requested? But if you get the upsize ad, did you get the list of 3+ bedroom homes or 4+ bedroom homes that you requested, right? Or did you get the list of off-market properties or whatever? So you can pretty much learn to plug and play. Okay, let's see. Scripts follow up. Text templates. All right, downside ad. Here we go. Okay, so with the downsize ad, this is an example. And I tried to do this just so you guys know, we updated it for if you have an ISA. If you have an ISA calling on their behalf, that's how we do it. But I changed it because I thought mostly solo agents were going to be buying this course. So I changed them all. So we're putting them back in with the way that we actually do it. So in this case, if you're a solo agent, you're like, Donna, and then depending on your area, feel free to use emojis, or you can change this to a son, you could just use a dash, a comma, whatever, right? Like it depends on how you want to represent yourself and your area. Okay. But Donna, my name is Bill Gustin. I'm a realtor with Totally About Houses in Indianapolis. Yes, that's really the name of his brokerage. You requested a list of one level homes from us online recently. Did you get that okay in your email? This, like I said, that's literally the first call. That's the first text. There's a video, downsizing 101, that goes out with the text. And then on the next text, it'd be like, I'd love to hear what you thought of the list of one level homes I sent you recently. Did anything catch your eye? And then on the third one, last week, you requested a list of one level homes for sale in Hamilton County from me online. Did you see anything you'd like to take a closer look at? So that's 1, 2, and 3, all different videos that we insert for these. That just goes 3 deep, but sometimes in between these we'll do, is this, like if their voicemail doesn't say their name, is this Ira, question mark, this is Sarah dot. And then that gets them also, it's the same thing with the iPhone. It tells them who I am and maybe this is Sarah. And then it gets them to respond usually because my name is pretty common and people are like, oh, is this Sarah from high school? And I'm like, oh, actually, no, we don't know each other, but I've been trying to reach you for 8 months and no, just kidding. But seriously, so you can throw things in there, like you can throw little quicker text. I know Josh Schoenly, I think he has some other texts that like are he puts in there. I personally like to have very good punctuation and grammar and things like that. I'm careful abbreviating words like thanks, like THX in certain areas, but not in others. Like Vegas is different than San Diego. So that's the kind of how it works with the downsizer ad. Hopefully that answered that
Yeah.
question.
Christy put in the is there information on what needs to be said or done in the videos you record? I think you have in the course, you have links to actual examples of agents' videos
All of
that you
them. Yeah.
use. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And okay, this is what I'll say. If every agent put themselves in the position of the buyer or the seller, and okay, let's just say that they're from out of town, out of state, they don't know. Let's say they're a buyer moving into the area. What's a video that you think that they should know about the area that you know so much about that you can't even think of what somebody would not know about it? What's the weather like? What are summers like? What do you need to know about the traffic, the tax laws, there's property taxes, there's a whole bunch of stuff. That some of that stuff can be boring, but mostly people want to know, what should I know? What do I wish I knew before I moved to Tacoma, Washington? What I wish I would have known. And a lot of that is like the traffic sucks, the weather sucks, right? And you're telling them the truth, and then all of a sudden they're like, I have to move there for my job. So I'm glad you told me the truth. And so get creative on the things that you think you would want to know if you were moving to a certain area, right? There's so many ways you can go, but don't be that boring agent that's, hi, I'm with eXp Realty, and today we're going to talk about the 10 things you should know. Start it off with a question like, what I wish I knew. Do you ever wonder what it's like to live in Tacoma, Washington? And do you wonder what the worst things are about Tacoma, Washington? That's a hook. Okay. That's how you start the video. You don't say, hi, this is Sarah and I work with blah, blah, blah. And I'm 20 years in the business and blah. That's boring. Any video is better than no video, but still, start it with a hook. Ask a question. Ask a question about your area, then answer the question. It doesn't have to be long. It can be short. It can be sweet. It can be, I had one of my clients, he couldn't think of anything, but then all of a sudden he went out to his garden and there were orange trees. And he was like, let's talk about how the fruit trees in Arizona. Let's talk about how you need a pool fence in Arizona, right? Like certain things like that. So it's really area specific. And that's a very long answer for this particular question, but it is important because it hangs people up. So if you want to, Crystal, email me. My email is Sarah at theinsidesalesagency.com. And I will send you what I send potential clients to before they're ready to sign up with us about what they need to make videos on. But it's also on my website. If you go to theinsidesalesagency.com, there's a tips and video section too, but I've updated it even better with lots of, oh, thank you, Danielle. My assistant's here. She just helped. She can do it.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for all of that is the likelihood of everyone watching those videos is not as high. Like most people aren't going to watch them right away, but the thumbnail in the text message with your face on it
Yeah.
and Sarah's name repetitively showing up on the phone
Mhm.
compels people to eventually pick up. Like it's all about building relationship. Like I keep passing this person. Like I've done that at a coffee shop, or I've seen the same person a couple times at a coffee shop to the point where we feel like we know each other. There's people in my neighborhood that I'm like this close to having a conversation with because I keep running into them. Like they
You
look
should.
familiar.
You should, by the way. You
Yeah.
should have
So
a
let's
coffee shop.
stop and say hi and get to know the likelihood that they're eventually going to pick up their phone. And I've told this story before. I filled out a form for a car I was looking for that was from a dealer, and this Maha was her name. Text messaging, phone calls, emails, text messaging, phone calls. And I had already been into another dealer and talked to somebody, and I couldn't even get them to call me back. Like they
Mm.
texted me, and I was waiting for them to call me back to perhaps offer me a better offer because I told them, no, I'm not interested. This is what I need, and this is not what you're offering me. Didn't even hear from them. But this Maha person, like I was pissed off. Like oh my God, it's Maha again. Like I could see it on my phone. And she eventually texted me and said, hey, I just need to know, are you still interested or not? I'm not trying to bug you.
Yeah.
So I finally called her and she said, just come in and talk and we'll see where you're at and I'll see if I can help you. Guess who
Mm.
I bought my car from? The person that was annoying as hell. I'll literally tell you that she was annoying initially, but she got to know me and she was consistent. And the other person didn't even call me back. Like when I had a legit, I was already in conversation with them and they didn't even call me back. I knew that Maha would call me back because she had
Yeah.
established that professional relationship with me from the get-go.
Yeah.
So I think that's key to what Sara shares in her course. And I think it's something that if you don't have systems and stuff in place to be able to just take those systems and to do the work, and I don't think you'll regret it. I don't think you'll look back and say, I wish I wouldn't have set aside X amount of hours every week and consistently made phone calls. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to hire someone to do this. If you're not in the position to hire someone to do it, get yourself in the position to hire someone to do it. And you'll know how to find that person if you do it yourself long enough to know what it takes to do it. Learn it yourself because then you can know what it takes and you can hire the right people to do it for you. Uh,
Absolutely. Good.
Any other questions on here as we're wrapping up the top of the hour? A lot of people asking if it's recorded. For sure, it is recorded. We will drop this in here. So this is, as always, Sara has done a course. This is Sara's course here with us at Street Text, and it basically spells out the follow-up, the scripts, how she does it. She also goes through the mindset stuff that she does at the beginning to get herself into that position to be able to do the calls. But it's basically her timelines. And as we said, these courses are live, which means we update them. So Sara was in there again with her team, putting some recent updates into them. So if you've already purchased this course, those updates will be in there. And it's
Well,
good for ISAs too.
yes, so that's the thing. Like I said, we took it out because there weren't a lot of people that wanted it for their team and everything like that. But now we put it back in. Danielle is my go-to person for that, and she manages our course, and she's been amazing at getting stuff in there. Plus, I also do a weekly, right now it's a bi-weekly podcast webinar thing that is also going to be on the radio, but it's right before the Street Text Mastermind on every other Wednesday. So I just did one, so it'll be not this coming Wednesday, but the week Wednesday after that. And we put the recordings of those in there too. And in those ones, I usually talk about like books. One was a really good one by Charles Duhigg about super communicators and how there are three types of conversations within a conversation. You're either in a practical conversation, an emotional conversation, or a social conversation. And I'll just break those down real quick. A practical conversation is where you're making plans or solving problems. An emotional conversation is where you're empathizing or venting, getting emotions out. And a social conversation is where you're learning about something about each other or how you relate to society or if you have things in common and values like that. So it's really important to understand that if somebody is having an emotional conversation and you are trying to solve the problem, you're not going to hear each other. You're not going to see eye to eye. So you may see this in a marriage, like sometimes women just want to vent and the man wants to fix a problem. And you just need to tell them, like, hey, all I want you to do is just empathize with me right now. Not try to fix the problem. So that makes a difference too in follow up and all of these things. So those mastermind or those that's before the mastermind, the webinar, we put them in the course and they're really helpful. So you guys should check them out.
And the valuable thing you have in there too is there's a bunch of different recorded calls, so you can actually hear like how a call goes. Like, what does it look like? And we played some of those on the masterminds, but to really dive in, what does it look like to disarm someone that answers the phone defensively? And it's not your common, I'm just going to do objection handling. No, I'm going to open this person up by just being human and having a conversation. So you get to see Sara example of what that looks like. So then you can keep going and practicing it yourself and then going back to those recordings to listen to like, how can I hone in on this craft? I assure you, does anybody on here think this isn't a valuable craft? Like it's Sara, would you say it was worth getting over your fears back then? Like you said, you were almost arm wrestled into a position you didn't
Yeah,
want, but you're
100%.
thankful long enough that you did it, that now
Yeah,
you're
yeah, I am. And God works in mysterious ways, right? I didn't understand any of that. And I did end up leaving that company after my best friend died from COVID. I got my license. I was Linnea Carver's assistant. That didn't last very long because I didn't like nights and weekends and that sort of thing. And then I tried to go back to a different real estate coach and that didn't work. And it was all preparing me for this to tell you guys that we all have nervous energy that we're afraid to like do what maybe we're meant to do, and we just need to step into our power. And it doesn't even have to be, it's okay, God, you put me in this position, like it's on you, man. Whatever happens, right? I'm gonna take the steps that you tell me to take, and if this gets me to my dream life, then right on. And that's what's happened because now I have the relationships like I have with street techs. Like this is such an incredible thing. If I wasn't Linnea's assistant, I wouldn't have found you guys. And if I wouldn't have found you guys, I don't know that I would have figured out how to systematize everything. And I don't know that I would have ever made a course or that I would have ever done any of these things. But I feel like it's a massively important topic. And I hope you guys will get the course. And I think it will become more popular over time as I become more popular because I'm not name like a household name yet, but I also haven't marketed myself very much. But I do know that getting on stage and stuff like that is my goals for this year and next year. So hopefully you get it now at 40%. So you should do that with the promo code in the chat.
yeah. Yeah, so I threw a promo code there in the chat. That promo code is good until Sunday at midnight. So if you want to take advantage of getting Sara's course and running through like just her systems and all that, 40% off. The course is $299 normally, and then you'll get 40% off of that right now, Sheila. And that is in on the Thinkific platform for our Canadians. That is in US dollars. Correct. Troy, JC. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's
I
a,
know that's correct.
I just wanted to 100% verify. But to me, the thing about real estate is if you learn a skill like this, the ROI, you're not selling a $200 something. Like it's a property. Like the commissions check from learning how to do this covers these small little investments over and over again if you learn what you need to learn. And if you're somebody who struggles with making calls or just doesn't know what you're convincing yourself you don't know what to say and you just want to go to somewhere and take this is what you say now and you have no more excuses. Now go get to work and do what Sara did until you can get to the point where you can hire Sara's company to do it. When you can set up a call with her and her team, and maybe that's where you're at with your business. But like Sara and I talked about that too. Like when you're ready to do that and when you're ready to move there, you got to have investment in your pocket. It's not like it's a magic switch for the ISA. Imagine the success she's having on the 3 month call, but she had to start at month one with a client to get to the 3 month call. So a lot of people have that. An ISA is going to solve all my problems. If I sign them, my business is going to grow this month. And that's not the case. You have to do the same thing, invest in it because this is a long-term process in order to get big commission checks. This is not a quick sale of a small little purchase for people. It's a home. It's a big deal. You got to build
100%.
trust longer to get those big checks. But
Yes. Oh, I wanted to say one other thing, and I know we got to wrap it up. But the other thing I was thinking about is you said that YouTube might not give any views. I did an interview with a guy that had no sphere of influence and built the #1 YouTube channel in Tacoma, Washington. He's a friend of mine. And it was because he gave it a 3-year commitment. And he's only in year two. He just passed year two. And now all of these people on YouTube are coming to him. and they're saying, hey, you know what? He just had one from London, and they're like, we have to relocate, and I want to work with you because they've watched so many of his videos about how horrible it is to live in Tacoma. Sorry, it's not that bad. I'm just kidding. To live in Tacoma and like the cool spots to go to and like the nightlife and all the things. And they already know him. They're like, he's a celebrity. So people do end up calling you. Just don't be one of those short term people that does for 90 days if you commit to something.
Yeah, I think that goes along with what John was saying on the mastermind and his email that went out today is what are your non-negotiables? And I'm telling you, making calls and getting good at it and being consistent at it, making that one of your non-negotiables, it's going to pay off. That's why it's paying off for Sara and her business and all of the clients that she's working with and anybody that follows through on that. It's going to pay off. Sometimes our non-negotiables are things that aren't going to pay off. This is my non-negotiable that I
Yep.
have at Starbucks every morning. No, we got to make the right non-negotiables. But yes, thank you so much for sharing your heart here, Sara. I think a lot of people heard your heart, and I think that's key. Is if you don't have the right heart and head position, then it doesn't matter what you get up to, you're going to quit it before you actually see the results come on the other side of it. And the reason that you haven't quit it is because you have a good heart and purpose behind it and therefore you're following through to get better and better and hone in on your craft. And yeah, I believe you when you said yet. I'm like, haven't been on the big stages yet. See, she's already got herself there. It's coming.
It's
But
happening.
yeah, everything starts somewhere. So who's going to make some phone calls? Who's been inspired to make some phone calls? Do Sara good and just go and do it petrified and feeling like you want to throw up. If that's how you feel, just do it because you'll get better at it and you'll actually start to enjoy it as you start hitting the wins.
Yeah, because you'll start making money too.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it is what we need, right?
There you go.
So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Grab that code if you want that course because we said it's only available until Sunday. So the link is there. And then Sara's an open book too. If you sign up
Yeah.
for the course, she's aware of that too. And we can you can connect and ask questions and get fill-ins on that. But I think it's a value that you won't regret, especially if you apply it, because statistics out there show that a lot of people buy stuff and don't follow through on it. So follow through on it and you will be a happy person. You'll be coming back and sharing your wins on everything.
Yeah, and give me feedback because I want to hear what people think. I think it's pretty amazing, but I like to hear what other people think too.
So go put on your pump up music and get after your day. But we've been a pleasure spending the afternoon or early morning with you, and we'll see you all again very soon. Ciao.